I have a very obvious fat loss hack that works wonders. Sean here from Fit Fusion Brotherhood. I owned a gym for 10 years. I've coached thousands of clients, and I'm always looking to see what some common habits are between the successful ones and the less than successful ones. And one of the biggest takeaways that I got over my years and still applies today is that the most successful people when it comes to achieving their fitness and nutrition goals are boring. Yep, that's it. Being boring is a fat loss hack. Bear with me, it's not as stupid or simple as it sounds. It's powerful, and there's reasons why it works so well. So when I say boring, I'm talking about being routine, scheduled, knowing what you're going to do beforehand, and repeating that over and over again. The more predictable you are, the better it's going to be for you in the future. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be rigid 1000% of the time, but the more consistent you are, the more predictable you are, the more routine you are, the much better chance you have at achieving your goals. So let's break it down for you. There's three main reasons why people who are boring end up being super successful. Okay, so when I say boring, again, I'm not talking about never going out or never doing anything, but I'm trying to talk about being as consistent and predictable as you can. So number one, being boring eliminates decision fatigue. This is huge. I think we can all agree there's a lot of overwhelm, information, conflicting data that you see out there in the fitness and nutrition world. And by having a consistent and predictable routine, you eliminate that decision fatigue. You eliminate that overwhelm. You don't have to worry every single day what you're going to get for dinner, or what you're going to do for lunch, or what your workout's going to be, or whether or not you're going to work out, or what time, right? All of these things, if possible, you want to know beforehand. And the more often you can replicate it, the better it's going to be. So being able to eliminate the decision fatigue is just a game changer, because really we only want to have to make so many difficult decisions throughout the day. The more of those that we have, the more likely we are to fall off track. Now, you're probably super busy with your career, with your family, with your friends. You probably have a bunch of difficult decisions and responsibilities to tend to every single day. Now, the last thing you want is to have to stress about your workouts and your nutrition. So being consistent with those things is going to make your life a lot better. Number two, you're going to get really reliable feedback. So one of the more frustrating things that can happen is if you feel like you're doing a really good job with your fitness and nutrition, but you're not getting results and you don't know why. By having something a lot more simple, if you are eating the same things, and when I say the same things, I'm not talking about eating literally the same thing all day, every day, but having a consistent meal routine, the more consistent and predictable, again, the better. But when you are having a predictable and consistent routine like this, it's much easier to be able to identify that bottleneck. So if you feel like you're eating really well, or you're training really well, you're not noticing any sort of improvements, it's much easier to try to figure out that bottleneck, because there are only so many variables that you can choose from. Whereas if you're eating different every single day, going out to restaurants, you're eating at different times, your sleep's all over the place, there's so many different variables that could be impacting that. It's very difficult to understand and know what it is that's really holding you back. Okay, so being able to really get reliable feedback from the data that you're having, because you have so many fewer variables, is going to make your life a lot better. And then number three, and this is an important one, I talk about this all the time, circadian rhythms. Now, this is more applicable when we're talking about eating at consistent times, going to bed at specific times, waking up at specific times. But it does also apply to when you work out, what your workouts are like, and even what your food is like. Because the more you can kind of have the same things over and over again, the more your body and your brain is kind of primed to expect what comes next. And when your body's already primed to expect what comes next, it can make things a lot more consistent with you. So if you're eating at different times throughout the day and your diet's kind of all over the place, you're going to have a really tough time managing your hunger hormones. So the ghrelin, the hormone that tells you when you're hungry, it's not optimized because there's no consistent circadian rhythm with that. Same thing with leptin, the hormone that gets released when you should feel full, because your body doesn't know when it's going to eat next or what it's going to eat next. There's just no schedule or routine within that. Same thing when it comes to sleep. So if you're going to bed at certain times that's different every single day, it becomes a lot more difficult for your body to feel energized and rejuvenated, and being able to have that just really comfortable feeling throughout the day where you're not getting a bunch of hunger spikes that you aren't expecting, or energy drops, or just mood swings, because the more consistent you are, the more your body will actually reward you. And this makes it a lot easier, especially during fat loss. If you're dropping your calories and you're feeling miserable, grumpy, moody, hungry all the time, the more consistent you are, the more you can regulate your circadian rhythms. And that makes a really big difference. Okay, so this does seem like the most obvious topic ever, but it's very, very important. Now, I know this isn't going to apply to everyone. If you have a family and you have to kind of cook for a bunch of different people, not so easy to do. So this isn't going to apply to everyone, but it is important to consider what you are able to control. You should consider at least trying to be as routine as possible with those elements, because as I've said, and this is a very strong correlation, the more boring someone is with their diet, with their nutrition, with their habits. When I say boring, I'm not talking about being a boring human being. I'm talking about repeated habits over and over again. The more likely you are to be successful. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you do like videos like this, do us a huge favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.